On Justice Lead, last week, you might remember these images. Rümeysa Öztürk, a Turkish national and Tufts University PhD student, was arrested and detained by immigration officers, presumably as she was just walking down the street. 6 hours after her arrest, a judge ordered that she not be moved outside the Commonwealth of Massachusetts without 48 hours' notice. Despite that court order, she was flown the next day by the Trump administration to a detention facility in Louisiana. And we still do not know specifically what she did to merit this. Trying to get information about these cases is not easy. Last week, I asked the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. State Department, and the White House for any specific evidence about any of these graduate students or scholars who have been targeted by the Trump administration for deportation. We know of at least 11, although Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has said there are hundreds. A senior official of the State Department told me this afternoon, in part, quote, as Secretary of State, Secretary Rubio has broad authority over the visa program for these foreign students, including granting and revoking. When a person is granted a visa to enter the United States, they are guests of our country and must abide by our laws. Remember that, our laws. A visa is a privilege, not a right. We can confirm that every individual who has had their visa recently revoked by this administration has displayed problematic behavior, remember that too, problematic behavior, that would have made them ineligible for a visa if they would have disclosed this information during the vetting process. The U.S. government is now revoking their visa retroactively to ensure we're taking deliberate actions to protect our communities and campuses, unquote. So what is the problematic behavior exhibited by any of these students? What's any evidence that they did? The State Department would give us new details. In fact, the State Department just sent us another statement, part of which reads, due to privacy considerations and visa confidentiality, we generally will not comment on department actions with respect to specific cases. Now, last Thursday, Secretary Rubio defended the arrest of Rümeysa Öztürk. Here's what he had to say in part.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa.
In the case of this student, Öztürk, a Department of Homeland Security spokesperson, told CNN that Öztürk had, quote, engaged in activities in support of Hamas, unquote. What were those activities? They would not tell us. There's also the case of a Georgetown scholar, an Indian national, who had his J-1 visa revoked. He's also being held in detention in Louisiana. Dr. Badar Khan Suri was, according to the Department of Homeland Security, quote, actively spreading Hamas propaganda and promoting anti-Semitism on social media, and that he had, quote, close connections to a known or suspected terrorist who is a senior advisor to Hamas. Okay, what social media are you talking about? What evidence is there that he was spreading pro-Hamas propaganda? Again, if there is evidence, the Department of Homeland Security, the Trump administration, did not share it with us. Khan Suri's attorney told CNN that neither he nor his client had seen any evidence to that effect.
No administration official has put forth a shred of evidence that my client, Dr. Khan Suri, has been involved or is affiliated with any known or suspected terrorist.
So far, Secretary Rubio said the State Department has revoked the visas of more than 300 people and plans to revoke more every day.
And I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them, but we're looking every day for these lunatics that are tearing things up.
So the question is, where is the evidence of they must abide by our laws? Where's the evidence of that they broke laws? Secretary Rubio talked about participating in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus. Okay, for these students, where's the evidence that they vandalized? Where's the evidence that they harassed students? Where's any of the evidence of any of this? All we know is that these people were involved in protest movements, but we don't know of any disturbing behavior. There has just been no evidence presented. One conservative writer, Jeffrey Blair, in National Review today noted, quote, this sets a hugely dangerous precedent. Are you comfortable with immigrants being ejected for exercising basic speech rights. If there is evidence of any of these individuals engaging in law-breaking or harassing other students or anti-Semitism or pro-Hamas sentiments expressed, specific evidence to these individuals, by all means, we welcome the Trump administration sharing it. But this idea of trust me, they've behaved problematically is not good enough from this government. It's not good enough from any government. For more, let's bring in CNN's Priscilla Alvarez. Priscilla, so student visas are not just being revoked because of protests. Today we're learning about why an unidentified University of Minnesota's graduate student who was detained last week. What was the reason for that?
Well, according to a senior Homeland Security official, this is because of a previous drunk driving incident and is unrelated to student protests.
It is a crime, yeah.
But what it speaks to, Jake, is that the Secretary of State has enormous authority when it comes to who is allowed to have a visa and who can have that visa revoked. That is what we're seeing both in this drunk driving incident, but also in the visas being revoked of these foreign nationals who attended these prestigious universities and have now since had their visas revoked for, as you mentioned, reasons that we don't quite understand or know because the evidence has not been presented. Now, I will say that what is also happening tangentially is that they are going through their immigration proceedings. It's not just that we're seeing these federal court proceedings about whether they should be removed or whether there is any basis for their revoking of the visas. Well, now there are also removal proceedings, and now they're going to have to go before an immigration judge. So there are multiple things at play here with very little evidence that's been provided by the administration. We have also learned that there are 5 international students at Colorado State universities who have also learned that their visas are being revoked. So we are hearing about this day by day, trickle by trickle, without much information as to why it's happening or on what legal authority.
All right, Priscilla Alvarez, thanks so much. And again, to Secretary Rubio or Secretary Noem or anybody at the White House, if there's evidence, come on the show, present it, email me, text me, present it. Priscilla's on the case. Show us this evidence. But it's not just good enough to talk about problematic behavior. What behavior? Who? What? When? Their one-week trip to space ended up lasting nearly 10 months. Now Butch and Sunny are describing the issues with their spacecraft that unexpectedly extended their stay and the first things they did after returning to Earth. Stay with us.